How to Set Up a Gank, featuring Game 4 of the IEM Gyeonggi Finals between Samsung Galaxy and Kongdoo Monster. The team compositions are in, and while it's clear that Samsung walks away with the superior draft, we want to know how these picks stack up against each other in the laning phase. So let's break it down in the blackboard so we can have a better understanding of that. Maokai versus Poppy, we've seen this one a million times. We know exactly how this matchup goes. Lee Sin versus Kha'Zix. Lee Sin is the best jungler right now, while Kha'Zix, not so much. Lee gets the advantage. Victor versus Cassiopeia. This matchup, while we have seen a lot of times, this was fairly even Stevens. Then we have Ezreal Braum versus Jhin Karma, and while the advantage should go to the Jhin and the Karma, because of the influence of the junglers here, Lee Sin on Samsung's side and Kha'Zix, not a very strong early game jungler, Lee Sin just ends up dominating this bottom lane as well. And that's exactly what we're going to be seeing in this matchup. With this in mind, we know that both teams' focus is mid and bottom. Samsung's most powerful play is going bottom lane with Braum CC. Samsung also happens to have all the engaged tools in their composition, so they can easily pick their fights. And they can do so waiting for Lee Sin's level 6 power spike, which is ridiculous as it almost certainly guarantees you a kill. Both junglers are starting in the bottom side of the map, and they're getting leashes from their dual lane, which means that when the dual lanes meet, they'll be able to see the missing HP and mana from their counterparts and effectively deduce that the jungler started in the bottom side, which means that they will finish in the top side of the map. But because Maokai versus Poppy is such a lethargic lane, you know that they intend to just power farm, and this is further emphasized by seeing Maokai and Poppy in lane right from the level 1 with full HP and full mana. Yet it appears that Punch did not get the memo for where the junglers are starting, and so he takes a casual stroll to the top side of Samsung's jungle, finds Ambition, realizes that he's up against Lee Sin, and backs off wisely. Ambition isn't phased and continues to jungle just as always, and what Punch continues to do is lingering around, wasting his time. He sits in the left side of middle without getting any farming done, which means that he's going to be late for finishing his Raptor camp and finishing his Crumbz, which are 10 little minions. That takes a long ass time. Ambition continues to farm and will move on to the Scuttle Crab and then quickly recall, and what that does is that it lets him set the pace for the next play. He already has the advantage for Kha'Zix, who instead of power farming, chose to spend some time to see if he could maybe get a 1v1 kill on Lee Sin, look for a gank on middle lane. None of it happened, as it appears that Samsung has their plan set out and they're going to execute it perfectly. Phase 1 begins with Ambition placing a control ward in the bottom lane Tri-Brush and then continuing to farm. This allows them to have Fog of War advantage for future plays and lets the bottom lane play a little bit more aggressive. Now let's take a look at Karma's movements. She walks to the entrance of river and Samsung sees this. She can be doing one of two things, either faking a ward or actually placing one. But because both junglers have been missing for quite a while, it would be unwise of her to actually face check a brush, so she most likely warded it. She oversteps a little bit though with the minion wave, and so Samsung immediately sees an opportunity to go on the aggressive, try to get some damage in, get some summoner spells. They don't get the summoner spells, but the damage is done. Their lineup is already chunked significantly, which means that if a jungler is to visit this lane, it is much more likely to result in a kill. But watch what CoreJJ does next. He goes into the same brush that Karma placed the ward earlier and drops his own ward. This ward will allow them to see the previous ward die, and this also lets Ambition, when he's to pay a visit to this lane, walk into that brush safely, knowing that he's not going to find a Kha'Zix waiting for somebody to face check him. This is where the setup really gets juicy, and Punch sees an opportunity to go into the red side jungle once again and scouts Ambition, but what he does next is brilliant. He fakes going back to the jungle top side, instead reroutes to the bottom lane and goes back through the same control ward which he placed earlier, through the vision that CoreJJ allows him to see that there is no vision, and goes for the play. And when the execution comes around, everybody commits. Flash Winter's Bite, Flash Dragon's Rage, and they're able to walk away with a first blood. So what did we learn from this? Ambition wasted no time on his path, unlike Punch, as he had a clear plan in his mind. Top and mid played safe, meanwhile, gave no opportunities for counterplay. The vision setup was a team effort between Ambition and CoreJJ, making sure that there was a clear route for a play. When the play rolled around, the execution was there with the commitment. Flash burn from Ambition and flash burn from CoreJJ, and what happens next is that they use that first blood to hit him with a 3-peat, and it is ugly. Samsung being relentless in their aggression, going for the second gank on Kongdoo's bottom lane, and Poppy tried to be the hero for Kongdoo. Unfortunately, she channeled her teleport literally in the middle of the lane, so Maokai had no issues canceling that. And take a look right there at the ward that Samsung just placed, that Ambition Hop to. That ward wasn't something that he placed for a ward hop. It was a ward for an incredible amount of foresight. That ward is going to allow them to use that teleport advantage that Maokai has to pull the trigger on this bottom lane once again. And the warpath against Jin and Karma is very real. They kill them once again, and they're able to ride that wave of just death of Kongdoo's bottom lane into a sub 30-minute win for Samsung. That's exactly how you want to take a small lead off a gank and repeat visit that lane so that you can go grow that lead, grow it, snowball, and then close out the game. And take a look at the scoreline for Kongdoo's bottom lane. 1-5-0-4. That's how you do it.